Very excited to be sponsoring this session. I work closely with all three gentlemen that are on the panel, and they've got a lot to say about how to market and merchandise connected home solutions to help you enhance your homes, sell your homes faster for more money, and really about connecting the connected home technology to the new home personalization process. So I'm going to share a little bit about what we do with the Elan New Home program and quickly get these guys up on the stage because they're actually living it and doing it every day, and I think it's going to be very impactful to learn from what they've learned. So the Elan New Home program has three facets. We have a program for production builders, multifamily projects, as well as custom builders, architects, and designers. The three things that we hope that we try to help our partners with is one, as I said earlier, make sure you maximize your investment in connected home solutions and market that as a lifestyle amenity. That's how you get the best bang for your buck. It's how homeowners will understand that what you're doing to the home to really make it current and modern. The second thing is you want to make sure you integrate the home tech with the new home personalization process. So that means for a production builder that your salespeople who are selling the homes can talk about it with benefits. When you get to the design center, that the selling process for the options are included in that lifestyle enhancing process. And that's the way that you will differentiate your property. And the last thing is we help our partners tell the story. We provide all the marketing and training, literature, how to speak in just common language about what this technology does for benefits so that your entire team can talk comfortably about it. So Nortec Security and Control is a group that has a lot of brands, a lot of categories. We do everything from garage door openers, gates. We have card access systems for MDUs and multi-dwelling or apartment buildings. We're about one of the largest security providers in the world, about 4 million panels installed. We OEM products to many of the names that you guys know and work with today. We also are one of the largest Z-Way manufacturers of light switches and thermostats and garage door openers. We have a health and wellness product which helps age-in-place technology, so 55-plus communities, similar to the technology like a help I've fallen and I can't get up. And then we anchor all this with our Elan control platform. And this is a one-app solution that brings it all together, makes it work together, makes it easy to use, and of course incorporates all the things like voice and from Alexa and Google, etc. So we can bring a lot to the table to make your home complete, whether it's production, MDU, or custom, but we're also open. So we integrate the best-of-breed third-party products, all the things that you're familiar with from Nest to Sonos and the Honeywell products. All those things will also integrate into your Elan system. So a quick analogy. Who here has a car, right? Everybody's got a car. When you open the car door, what happens? The light comes on. Right? People here live in houses or condos or homes, right? When you open the door in your house, does the light come on at night? Some people do, but most don't. We go to the CES show every year. We exhibit there. I go to the automotive section, and I look to see what is happening with the cars. And about 20 years ago, I was coincidentally involved in the auto industry, and I studied it. And back then, you would buy a car, and you'd take it, and you'd have the undercarriage rust-proofed. And then you'd take it somewhere else and you'd have the tint put on the windows. And you'd go somewhere else and you'd have a car stereo or an alarm or an auto start put in there. And the car manufacturer said, if people want this technology in their car, why don't we put it in the car? We'll sell more cars. And that's exactly what they did. My father-in-law buys a new car every 2 years. He wants the safety features. He wants the car to keep him in the lane if he drifts. He wants it to stop if someone runs out. You know, cruise control now slows down and speeds up based on the car in front of you. So they're selling more cars because people want that technology. And they do that because they own bumper to bumper from the car, and they put a platform in that car so everything works together. So you guys can do that with your homes. You own foundation to roof, but you gotta have a platform that everything connects to. So there's a lot of things that you can put in your home. And all these solutions that we have and our good competitors have, all are very scalable. But there's a difference between smart and there's a difference between smart and connected. If you put smart devices in your house and you have multiple apps, one for your lights, one for security, one for climate, you've got 5 apps or 3, 4 apps on the phone, it's smart, but they don't work together. When you put a system that connects them, you get that benefit of the door opening, security system says I'm open, telling the light to turn on. And that's how you get a smart and connected home, and that's when the lifestyle benefits really come through, the 1 + 1 = 3. So a little bit about our production builder solution. First is, when we talk to builders, what do they want to do? They want to sell homes. What does a homeowner want? Well, they want to move into a finished home. And then we looked at the process that goes on in this, and the builders pick the options they think are going to help market their home and make it attractive to the buyer. And they have the upgrades. And then the first stop is the sales agent. And for years you go in there and they say, hey, this house is perfect as is. Don't worry about upgrading it. You can do it afterwards. And the biggest complaint is, hey, what I moved into doesn't look like the model. And you get to the design center where everyone goes to, and they're supposed to talk about the upgrades that the sales agent may have said, hey, you can do it later. So there's a disconnect there. And then the design center feels they might be competing for dollars with the technology guy, and there's a little disconnect there. We try to bring those things together. All of these things build a better relationship for your buyer and make sure that from the very first contact, you're talking about all the things that make this house a home and make that process smooth through the whole thing. So where does it belong? Well, I've seen lots of ways, and there are different ways to do it. You need your trades to put some of the technology in, but you gotta market it in that design center experience. That's where the lifestyles are talked about. And then, do you want your homeowner to have to finish the home when they move in, or do you want to let them do what they want to do, which is enjoy the house, bring their friends over, entertain, have all the things ready so they can enjoy their new home? So our program addresses all of these from the package standards. We've got installers that are trained and certified that know how to work with the builders. And we provide the sales and marketing collateral, training for the salespeople, and we help you stay on schedule. So a typical standard has some lights and thermostats and a video doorbell plus the infrastructure. We market that as never come home to a dark house, talk to the person at the front door from anywhere in the world, and make sure it's easy to be comfortable or energy efficient with your climate. Then it's one app that ties it all together. When you add the peace of mind package, which gives you a garage door opener and a door lock, now you say, do you want to talk to the person at the front door? Then from the same app, let's open it. Let's let them in and let's maybe open a garage door to drop a package off. Add security. So security now means I can talk to the person, disarm security, open the garage door, then rearm, all from one app. And then when you add music package, integrate, because it's connected to the platform, my video doorbell, intercom, will ring through the speakers. My security alerts will ring through the speakers. So it's all connected, and every package gives you that 1 + 1 = 3 story. And then obviously we can add all sorts of entertainment solutions on top of that. Literature to help your sales team sell it, and the training to make sure your team knows what to do with it and how to talk about it to differentiate your project. We're going to help you sell more homes. On the custom side, we help architects and builders and designers in a similar way. We will help you build a budget for a standard so you can start that conversation. You want to start that conversation early, so we'll give you co-branded literature to start the conversation with your client. And we're giving you direct manufacturer support. That's the front end. On the back end, because we're so confident with all our products working together, that we will give you performance guarantees, a certified design, and it'll become an Elan flagship system, which is anchored by a 5-year warranty on the electronics. Most are 1, our standard is 2, but if you work with our program, we're going to let you offer your clients a 5-year warranty. So we believe in what we're doing. We want to pass that along to you. So 3 things that we really want to talk to you about. We have appointments with many of you today. We've met many of you yesterday. We want to help you deliver a great experience to your customers. We want to deliver complete connected home solutions that are integrated into your organic selling process, and we're going to help you tell a great story. So we're going to bring up the panelists now. They're going to share with you. We've got one gentleman who is a design center who serves production builders, another gentleman who has a design center in Chicago that works with designers and architects, and Tim Costello, who, well, if you know Tim, you probably heard him talk here before, really leads the way in how to market the new home experience. So that's it. Please enjoy the panel. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Joe. Nice job. Thank you very much, Joe, and a great presentation to really start us on what we hope is going to be an interesting conversation around design centers and their role in tech moving forward and how things are changing on that front. And I think Joe set us up very well in some spots here with his presentation this morning on some of the things that we hope that we'll be able to touch on and dive a little bit deeper into. So I'd like to introduce the session here briefly. The Design Center is Fulcrum for TecHome sales and implementation. For too long, design centers have sat on the sidelines of home technology, focusing instead on selling and installing low-tech design options like flooring, cabinetry, and countertops. The times are changing. Innovative design centers are now actively building out their play in home tech, enhancing the potential for strong take rates among home buyers, considering the full spectrum of design and lifestyle options. We'll chart the progress and explore how design centers can not only increase sales, but also add efficiencies on installation. And these are the guys here who are going to help us get through all that. If you weren't here yesterday for the luncheon session, which I was up here for, my name's Tony Consiglio. I'm with the event presenter AE Ventures, and I'd like these gentlemen to introduce themselves. Ken here, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Tony. Good morning. My name is Ken Walker. I'm the founder and artistic director of Artisan Electronics Group. We are a Chicago-based electronics integrator, and as Joe had said, we do have a spectacular showroom in Chicago's iconic merchandise mart, which we opened midsummer last year, and with great partnership help from Elan.
Marshall.
Marshall Pepperman, Marshall's Design Inc. We've been around for about 30 plus years in the home center business. Our genesis is actually from the home furnishings industry, the better end of it. We are right now in the Westlake Village and moving into the Orange County facilities as well. And again, working with builders in the consulting side as well as the installation side of the home center business.
Good morning, everybody. Tim Costello. I run the Home Building Industry Consortium, BDX. It's been around for a long time. So.
Short and sweet. That's probably the shortest you're going to hear Tim talk today, I suspect.
Yeah, because it's the least interesting part of the whole thing. So
All right. Well, let's not waste any more time. Let's just get right into it. Design centers are changing. Marshall, how are they changing?
Their need to change is huge and dramatic. We as an industry are lagging, but recognizing we need to make the changes. We have heard speech after speech, keynote speech, about how, whether it be on the technology side or on the home center side, we need to stop thinking of ourselves as givers of commodities, but instead as marketing tools for the builder. And that's going to be a cultural shift that's going to be a challenge for our industry, because we have historically always thought of ourselves as really offering little more than the commodity of surfaces. And we lead with price, with purchasing, which is why you seldom see us in our industry working with sales and marketing. So the first thing we need to do is stop doing harm, as they say, like doctors say. We need to stop the practices of only leading with price. We need to be as involved in sales and marketing offerings to support the builder and to make the buyers happy and give them that full experience that Joe was talking about. And then we can begin to perform more like a sales and marketing tool, knowing as much about what was in the most recent Burns and Myers survey as we do about the face weight of carpeting.
How difficult was it, or maybe challenging, or how much of a process did you have to go through when you decided, you know what, this is something, tech is something that I really need to get in on?
Good question. We could see that at the point of sale for the builder, that there were basically two contacts that were emotionally going to push the buyer into a purchase of a home. One came through the one controlled by by the builder, which is the salesperson. The other point of contact was the home center. And we saw that our obligation then became, again, going back to the sales and marketing, that we needed to involve the builder, the purchasing department, and sales and marketing, as well as the salespeople themselves, in a program that was custom tailored to the buyer. And that realization then pushed us into specific programs where deductively we said, well, therefore, if the profile of the buyer is such and such in this price point with this educational background, this age group, therefore the technology and the services offered should be thus.
And you found that's been a successful transition?
It's a successful transition. It's new for the builder. It's new for the home center, but it's very effective. We're doing it on 4 developments right now. And the interesting point of that is on a development where the homes won't even be ready for 4 more months, it was the salespeople for the first time who said they wanted their 7 buyers on the list to meet with the home center about offerings to keep them emotionally tied in to both the technology and about their services.
But I think you got to be careful. There's a bigger underlying issue that is at play here rather than just design centers and builders. And that is fundamentally our society's relationship with physical enterprises is changing. Look, just this last week, right, Toys R Us went out of business, right? How many of you took your kids to Toys R Us? How many of us wanted to go to Toys R Us when we were little kids, right? It was just part of our life. Tops grocery stores gone out of business. Claire Jewelry's fired bankruptcy. Sears has closed half of its stores, right? Macy's is closing half of its outlets. I mean, just our relationship with physical space is fundamentally changing. And we have to think of design centers in that context as well. We've entered an experience-based economy. We now have online merchants opening stores where you can't buy anything. So stores where you can buy things are closing, and stores where you can't buy anything are opening. And you're sitting here scratching your head going, what the heck is going on here? I don't get this. And I think there's a lesson for builders in all of this as well. Most of our design centers look like miniature versions of Home Depot. I couldn't afford a warehouse store, so I built a small one, you know? You want to see like 67 little cabinet fronts that I can pull out? Wait a minute, let me lift these up. I'll put them over here. I'll pull one of these out. It's an amazing design center experience. It's really awesome, right? This little box up here on the wall, that's a thermostat. Well, it doesn't really work. It's just a plastic box. It's not hooked up to anything. Right? That's how we've designed these. It's not experiential. You two guys over here, to borrow a term from Anaheim, California, you're in the Imagineering business. You're not in the store business. We're not in the design center business. We're in the business of creating a space that is so compelling to go to, so immersive, so attractive, that we want to go there to learn, to experience, to get confirmation, to get professional help, to get advice. If we want to go to Home Depot, there's one within 5 minutes, and it's 10 times bigger than any of your locations. But we don't want to go to Home Depot. So unless we start thinking about that, the fact that we've transitioned to an experience economy. And how are we going to reward consumers? How are we going to move away from the transaction to advice? 41% of millennials bought a home online last year without ever visiting the home. Let that just sink in for a minute. 41% of all millennials put an offer in on a house, an actual offer, without ever visiting the property. So how motivated are they to come to your crappy little Home Depot that you got a bunch of cabinet doors stuffed in, right? Not very motivated. This is a self-servant, transparent economy. And we have to be the Imagineers to create a space that convinces not just millennials, but Gen Zs as well, and Gen X, and even got old guys like me to actually spend my time to come in. And I think that's the underlying issue. And you guys do it. That's what your merchandise mart thing is. That's what all of your locations are.
No, we don't do it.
Well, then.
No, we don't do that.
Shame on you.
You're exactly right. Shame on us. It's astounding. If you talk to builders about the budget they expend on their model homes within a development, the number isn't small. If you ask them exactly what the intent of those models are, it's amazing the pregnant pause you often get. because they don't often work with their design firms, which are different than the home centers, as well as the home centers, as well as sales and marketing, to accomplish exactly what you're saying, to make those models experiential. But more important, it's like parking a Ferrari in the Sahara Desert. Who's going to tell you about the features of it and make it exciting and bring it to life, like you said, so it's not just a plug on the wall? We don't do that. And
you need a Genius bar.
Thank you very much.
No,
that's exactly right.
You know, they don't sell very many Apple products at an Apple store.
It's not the point of
It's not the point of the store.
And it's the same analogy with where the home industry the home centers need to be too. It needs to be the extension of the models. Those models need to be purposeful to the particulars of whether it be the millennials who have a different bent in how they like to see technology, whether it be the Gen Xers, whether it be the baby boomers who are all in the same hodgepodge on the same developments of something to appeal to all. The salespeople need to hear it. We need to work together on it to accomplish what you're saying.
You guys are the Imagineers.
That's right.
Just come up and make them design the shit for you. That's how it works, you know.
There you
People
go.
want to touch and feel. People say, where can I see this? Where can I use it? A quick true story. We're working on a project for a wealthy young man gutting a new home in a fashionable area of Chicago. And a couple weeks ago, he was in for his third or fourth design visit. And I had to actually run down to the lobby to pick up a check from another customer. And when I came back up, I could see that he'd been doing a deep dive with our control system, just based on how he'd changed the lighting scenes and other things. And I hadn't even thought about it when I left the showroom. I just said, if somebody comes in, sell them something. And when I came back and could see that he had jumped out of his chair and gone to a touch screen, when I came in, he said, I need this.
So, one thing that I often talk to builders about is there's 1,600 Target stores in the United States. Target, the big retailer franchise. There's about 1,000 Best Buys. I mean, and these are huge household names. Right? I mean, there don't get to be very many more retail chains larger than that. I mean, Walmart's way larger than that. But other than that, these are the behemoths in the industry. Lennar has 30,000 retail locations in the United States. Lennar. Because every single model home and sales center and design center is a retail location, except we don't treat them that way. But that's the way we have to think. And you think, oh, that's Lennar. Now break it down on an individual level. Go to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and there's 2 Target stores in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And you're a small builder in Fort Wayne, Indiana, but you have 6 communities, and you have 3 model homes. And that means you have 18 model homes in each community. You have a couple of sales centers and 1 design center. You've got 22 locations. You have 10 times more retail locations than Target does in Fort Wayne, Indiana. But we don't treat it that way.
One of the reasons we don't treat it that way is because culturally, in our industry, in the home center, we don't come from the business that's now required going forward. Okay? We don't need flooring installers going forward. The way the industry is moving, companies who would once boast about all their crews, they don't have them. The truth is, basically every installation company is a broker, okay? They need to move into the space you're talking about, kind of like the Apple Store. But that's more analogous to not a retail, but a wholesale home furnishings operation, okay, where it's a closed unit, where the people are so knowledgeable about the product and everything they do is tied to marketing, so they understand why they're selling it, who wants it, and how to present it. That's a level of sophistication that our industry now must move toward. Also, as far as the technology, we're completely threatened by you, okay? Because you're simply the person or the entity who's going to take away our revenue that we're already clawing for margins in anyways. Now you're going to threaten that. So we have to stop seeing technology as a threat, but rather a combined effort that we put together to make that buyer have that experience you keep going back to, and you're right. And it can be done. And Joe, for example, and I, we're working on some right now, and we're getting that response. But it's different.
As we talk about the production builder side of things, model homes, and Tim, you mentioned how many are out there. There are options such as virtual design centers that can help without actually building model homes in all these spots. You can have these virtual design options that will help them visualize the different things that you can put in their homes. How can virtual design centers or online design centers and model homes and actual design centers complement each other to help make this tech buying process even better?
Yeah, this isn't a pillar or post discussion. This is not you either do it virtually or you do it physically. You just have to study other industries. The car industry today is a great example. People spend 18 hours online shopping for a car before they ever show up to a dealer. What does that mean? What it means is they're not shopping when they show up to the dealer. They're buying. And there's a fundamental difference between shopping and buying. Buying means I've already spent 18 hours looking at the car. I know what the prices are. I know what your inventory are. I know what the colors are. I know what the options are. I've already configured it. I've probably already texted or chatted or emailed online with the salesperson. I'm coming in to sit in the car and check out the color just to make sure that I'm okay with it. Or I'm bringing my dog crate to make sure it fits in the back because I can't quite do that online. It's the last step of the transaction. And that's why you see auto dealers now completely remaking themselves away from the shopping centers to the concierge service of allowing people and helping people through the last step of buying. We need to think about the same thing. When you provide a consumer an online shopping experience, they spend 8 to 9 hours online exploring the options in a home before they ever show up for the design center appointment. That doesn't mean you don't need a design center appointment. Right. You absolutely need it, and it better be spectacular. It better be just like Walt Disney, right? Yeah. But they spend 8 to 9 hours. And we also know that when they use their own self-directed purchasing, meaning an online purchasing device, they spend $10,000 more per home than if they just go to a design center appointment. Now, we call that the Amazon effect, where people spend more money online at Amazon than they do in a physical store, because they're making all of the decisions about the purchase and they're not being sold anything. So you're using the psychology and transparency of online merchandising and online commerce, and then you're using the experience and the confirmation of the physical design center. And those two go hand in hand.
I'd like to take a break from our discussion for just a minute to show a little bit of a video that I put together recently. I visited a gentleman named Jack Rainey, who has an experience center in Annapolis, Maryland, who's incorporated many pieces of technology into a design center experience to be able to bring the builders and architects and designers into his showroom to be able to show them what it can accomplish and how they can best utilize it in their own projects. So we'll take a quick little tour through the options that he offers and how he utilizes them best in his own showroom.
If a picture is worth 1,000 words, then a demonstration is actually worth about 10,000 words. What I can do in a half an hour to showcase technology would probably take me a week to explain. This beautiful painting, at a touch of a button, can become the TV in the house. This happens to be an 85, which is the largest piece of cover art that's ever been created. That TV then reveals when the art goes up, and it is accompanied by a full 5.1 Stealth Acoustics in-ceiling speaker system, all controlled by the Elan interface. We moved 2 years ago from 4,000 to 8,000 square feet. We reserved about 2,500 of that to do our experience center. And we wanted to put it together in a way that architects and designers especially could really identify and understand. Even architectural in-ceiling models can be hard to balance out in really modern and even in classic architecture examples. So we found that using a mud-in speaker, which installs exactly like a drywall patch, that speaker then can perform at every bit as good a level that we're seeing with architectural speakers. We don't have to see them in any way, shape, or form. So it's right up there in the ceiling where that light is shining. We really had a very design-friendly point of view when we built out this space. We wanted to have a very clean, a very invisible, and a very aesthetic execution. Thermostats don't need to be seen anymore. We can simply have a thermistor that's on the wall, a flat metal piece that senses the temperature, sends that temperature back to the thermostat, which is in the mechanical room. All the control for that thermostat can then be on our phones or on a tablet. We can look at schedules, we can adjust individual temperatures to each one of the zones quickly and efficiently, and not look at a large thermostat on the wall. It's not about the black boxes, it's not about the technology as an object, it's about the experience. This is Q-Motion dual shades. These dual shades give us a blackout shade for full light control, and also a solar shade for overall light control. Those solar shades will also give us a lot of UV protection for the home as well. Both carried in the same header. These shades are schedulable using a celestial calendar, a time of day calendar, or off of automation events. If I've got someone who's just curious, I can take them through a demo in as quick as 10 or 15 minutes. If I've got someone who needs a much more in-depth explanation, I generally take them through that same demo, and then we'll sit and go back to the features that are of particular interest to them. We're featuring full panelized lighting control from Vantage. This is the Vantage Infusion System. All of our 16 loads in this experience center are actually home run back to a dimmer panel. That dimmer panel is then controlled by a keypad. That keypad has individual scenes on them so that we can get to TV viewing. We can individually control those shades that we had over there. We can get to a party or a meeting scene quickly and easily, and also one button to turn the whole thing off. Design centers and showrooms can really help clarify a particular vision for a customer. They've stopped becoming demo rooms and they've started becoming experience centers.
So I hope that is able to give you a good look on how design centers and showrooms can be able to show off the technology options and be able to bring people in to give them demonstrations. And he said a couple things in particular that I thought were pretty interesting. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, a demo is worth 10,000, which I thought was pretty interesting. And at the end when he said, these are becoming experience centers now. And Ken, you opened an experience center in a 3 million square foot design center space that's known for being a traditional design center, and you're the first tech featured spot in there. And what are you finding is the mindset is people are transitioning into more of an experience center?
Well, that's exactly right, Tony. We had spent years in and around the merchandise mart, and it was obvious to us that this was a place where wealthy individuals come to buy everything for a custom home, from starting with their high-end appliances to beautiful furniture, all of their flooring, their custom kitchen cabinets, and it just became increasingly obvious to us that the single biggest missing element in custom home design was to have a representation for an electronics experience center, because people who are building these homes want what we offer, and we wanted to put ourselves in a position where we could, our primary goal was to move the discussion of technology earlier in the conversation, so that when they're picking out their appliances, when they're picking out their kitchen cabinets, when they're picking out their plumbing fixtures, that we are side by side in that conversation and have a better opportunity to bring the discussion of electronics into the conversation much sooner in the process than has traditionally been the case.
And how important is that to be able to establish what you're going to do on the technological front before you even before you even move dirt in the ground?
Well, there's no such thing as planning too soon. There's only planning too late. And I think the smart consumer understands that, particularly when we can show them some of the terrific things that we do with concealment, which are a variety of elements that have significant infrastructure demands. And that infrastructure has to be planned for the same way people plan for their plumbing infrastructure, the same way they plan for their electrical infrastructure. We have to make the customer understand, the builder understand, the designer understand that we are very much in an infrastructure-based category, which requires the same amount of planning as all of the other traditional infrastructure-intensive elements of a home.
Tim, I know you touched on it a bit earlier, but these high-end buyers, how important is it for them to be able to see and feel and experience all these different options that they have when they're building their home?
I used to be a custom home builder, so those are out in the audience that do custom home building, even production home building, it's the same issue. People can't read floor plans. You can show them floor plans all day long. I mean, they get that that's called a bedroom, and that's called a kitchen, and that's called a garage, and they understand that it's the right number of rooms and all that. But taking that into a 3D space and visualizing it with materials and colors and what it's going to look like at night, and what happens if I put red pendant lights versus blue pendant lights up, and how's that going to change the atmosphere of the room, they have no ability to do that. Your fear as a custom builder is you've had sign-offs all along the way, and you finally are walking through the client during framing, and they look at the windows and go, I didn't think they went down that low. And you have $87,000 of custom windows sitting in the garage right now that you can't return. That happens every single time. That's the business. The opportunity that we have today with visualization tools, with virtual reality, is you can walk that client through their home and they can see every material in every room. They can see what the home looks like during the day, what it looks like at night. They can see what the under cabinet lighting does. They can see what the tray ceiling does when it lights up. They can see everything. They can take furniture and they can place it in their home. They have that ability. Even custom integrators are now doing that. We've built VR environments for custom integrators because one of the problems with custom integrators, they're dealing with clients that are building 20,000 square foot homes. It's very hard to build a 20,000 square foot showroom that has a swimming pool and a backyard and a garden and a this and a that and an auto court and all of this kind of stuff. So we just do it virtually. And the client simply walks through the home and they walk up right to the Elan pad controller and they click party scene and the entire house in VR goes to party scene. So they're having that exact experience, but they're having it in virtual reality by walking through a home that doesn't even exist. The ability to maintain and keep up to all of the changes, the materials, the parts, the scenes, the pools, all of the assets that you can't replicate all the time in a physical center is just phenomenal. We have the best use case of any industry there is for VR and AR, period. We have been selling air our entire existence, right? We're selling dirt. We're selling stuff that doesn't exist. And AR and VR allows people to see it. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Marshall, I couldn't help but notice you had a big grin on your face when you heard about the issues that Tim was just describing in the way that this process sometimes doesn't work the way it should.
I wish I was only half as articulate as you are about that point.
Cynical is the word.
Cynical.
It's cynical.
Let me put a fine point on it. In the home center industry part of it, up until that point, everything is that commodity. The plumbing is the plumbing, the drywall's the drywall, and the buyer has no expectation beyond that. When it comes to the surfaces or the entertainment or technological selections, they picked it personally. They have an expectation, like you point out, of what that will be. And it is the only selections that no matter what the buyer picks, it is not what they're going to get. Because if it's a surface, they're looking at a small sample, and just the expansion of a small sample over a larger area in a different part of the home with refracted light changes the cosmetic appearance of that. So anything we can do together, both in the experiential, hands-on that you get in the model, and utilizing the technology to say, oh, by the way, if you want to see what that granite countertop or quartz granite countertop will look like in a different one of the colorways available, we can show you that on the screen. Now you're using the best of both worlds, and you're getting them closer to what they see is then what they get, and they don't do the, oh my God, I don't know what I signed for, but that's not what I meant. Because if you're having the conversation, as we often do with the buyer of, well, here's your contract, here's what you signed for, you've already lost. And that's what happens too often.
Yeah. You know, it's really interesting. We did a psychological test once, because especially in kitchens, we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on these amazing organic materials. Granite, wood finishes, porcelains, right? Stainless and metal finishes. I mean, they're beautiful products, right? I mean, and the variety that we have today is just phenomenal. So we did this study where we took all these beautiful products, but we took pictures of them under different light. And the impression on the quality of the products and the value of the products, depending on what the light was that was simply reflected off of it, changed dramatically. And it makes me always ask one thing. I always go to a builder, and when they tell me how great they are, and their design centers are amazing, and their model homes are perfect, and I go, oh, that's awesome. Could you tell me what your lighting recipe is in your model home? And they go, I'm not sure what you meant by a recipe. I said, oh, well, I need to know the intensity and the wavelength of the light in every single room of your home, because I'm sure you've optimized that for merchandising. Because don't think for a minute that when you walk into Whole Foods that they use the same Costco light bulb in each department. They have a frequency that goes over green produce, and a frequency that goes over fruit, and a frequency that goes over meat, and a frequency that goes over fish to optimize the appearance of each and every product within the store. Now, we're selling million-dollar homes. Don't you think we could maybe spend some time to figure out, when you're reflecting organic surfaces in the kitchen, what the appropriate intensity and wavelength of light is to get the maximum customer perception? This is not hard. This is not even rocket science. What we do is we go to Costco and we buy a 12-pack of whatever the light bulb is on special, and that's what's in our home.
That's right. That's it.
And that's the recipe at most builders and design centers, unfortunately.
It is the builder, home center working together that starts talking to the buyers about these issues when others are not. That alone will get the buyer's trust, because you're talking about issues that others are not, things that they don't tend to pick up online necessarily. And again, you build that trust so that then the next suggestion that is made, they're most likely to go with.
Imagineer right here, see?
Yes.
That's what I'm looking at.
That's what, yes, that's the job we have cut out for all of us.
All right. Let's talk about the process a little bit and what this is ultimately supposed to lead to. Ken, tech and design, how can they work together to create a lifestyle? Because I think that's important and what we're all trying to work towards.
Very much so. I mean, it is selling a lifestyle that we want to communicate to the customer, and people want what tech can offer today. And for as much as many of us at the top end of technology think that devices like Alexa are a little bit of a toy, perhaps, the great thing about it is it's done terrific things to raise consumer awareness, and it starts the conversation. And I feel there is an awareness today and a desire today from the consumer, certainly the customer that we work with, who wants what these types of systems can do. And much the way that Joe explained it, we try to break the notion of an app for this, an app for that, and really show people how it can all work together, and having the ability to demonstrate that in a visceral, hands-on way is very eye-opening to people. I mean, it is as big a part of our wow factor as the many things that we do in the wow factor business, and just as we see the interface with with a phone, I mean, we try to show the customer all of these things within our showroom, from having Elan touchscreens throughout the showroom, to having an iPad mini, to pulling a phone out of my pocket and showing them in a very real-time way how easy it is to manipulate and control all of these different systems, and people are I mean, people's eyes get very big, and people like it, and people have been afraid of technology, I think, for a long time, and as an industry, that's partly our responsibility. It's important to be able to build reliable systems, easy to use systems, and I think, I mean, over the years that we've been in business, I can't tell you how many times we've had a customer say, I'd be willing to spend $250,000 on an electronic system, I'm just concerned that it won't work. And we have to get past that. And the ability to show people just how real and simple and easy it is. I mean, here, I hand you the iPad mini and say, pull up a movie, switch video sources, and the more we can make it visceral and hands-on, the quicker we will change the mindset in the design community.
How do you get people over their fear? You talked about them being scared, it's not going to work. I mean, how do we get to that point where it becomes such a comfortable thing that everybody wants it and they know they want it?
Well, I think you have to hand it to them. I mean, you have to physically put it in their hands and say, in 2 minutes, I can show you how this system works. And I don't know that there's any other way than a physical hands-on. It's certainly, as the video said, a demonstration is worth 10,000 words, and even more than me demonstrating it, it's let me put it in your hands and tell you that this will be simple, and don't be afraid of it. I mean, you have to kind of put your arm around them a little bit and say, don't be scared, and there's nothing there's no place that you can go wrong, really, and not find an easy way back from where you started, and that's really, we've essentially compressed what we would describe as about a 6,000 square foot home's worth of electronics into an 1,105 square foot showroom, and we really have that much firepower, if you will, and we can say, walk to this space, walk to that space, and just go ahead and try it for yourself and see how easy it is to use.
So I have a little bit different view of that whole issue about fear. I don't think we have to help our customers get over the fear of technology. I think we have to get us over the fear of technology. Our customers are just fine with technology. And Apple and Google and Amazon and Nest and Ring and all those companies that they see advertisements on and are on every talk show and our giveaways at Ellen DeGeneres and everything else, they now believe, by the way, it's easy and simple. In fact, they believe it's way easier and simple than it actually is. The problem is not them believing it's not easy and simple. They probably believe it's way simpler and way easier than it actually is. The fear's on our side. That's where the problem is.
So how do we change that?
People believe they can go into any home today and they believe the lights are going to work and I can do it remote and I can lock it remote and it's all going to work together and it all works on my iPhone, and if it works on my iPhone, it's going to work on my Android, of course, right?
Yeah. The only question becomes, and this is the exciting part for the builder, is that it's a huge opportunity to make the sale. Because in housing, sometimes we forget, my God, when we're done with the entire process of land acquisition and construction costs and this and that, we're actually retailing a product. And one of the great things you do to successfully retail a product is you start showing people how it works. And when they see that, as you said, I'm not afraid of it, and oh, by the way, look at my excitement about this, and then I see the gee whiz look on your face, after you first start establishing that first part of the relationship, there's such a level of trust that you get the halo effect. Well, then anything else you then say about the home, because now it's not about technology, surfaces, and the home, It's the home, and these fit inside of it. So when I get the home, I get that excitement, I get that experience. When I have my friends come over, these are the things I can do to entertain the kids while enjoying myself in the other room while keeping an eye on the kids. Okay, and so it becomes an opportunity rather than a resistance point to actually sell that buyer on your home over the competitions.
Look, if we had gotten together 3 years ago and said, we're going to sell voice control for the home. Oh, God, how are we going to get consumers all comfortable? Really, voice control?
Lost your mic, Tim.
I'll sit on it now. How are we going to do voice control of the home? Oh, that's going to be impossible. People aren't going to trust it. People aren't going to know how to use it. This is really going to be a bad deal. Well, 64% of all households that make over $75,000 now have one. And they believe everything can be voice controlled. When you have Amazon, Microsoft, and Apple, and all these companies pushing this technology, and it's out in the press, and it's in the popular media, and it's in television shows, natively being put there, not by accident, right? We are being culturally driven by the four horsemen here down a path of technology adoption. Our customers are so far ahead of us. The problem is not customers. The problem is us. How are we going to catch up to where they believe the world already is? All you have to do is interview potential homebuyers. They believe when they move into a new home, it's going to be voice controlled. How could a new home not be, is what they say.
It's funny. The one question we probably hear, and you're right, the consumer thinks everything is easy because of the way that marketing is driven. If I had $1 for every time somebody said, is it wireless? Why would you even have to come to work in the morning?
Yep.
I mean, that perception with the consumer now that oh, well, everything should be wireless. Well, everything, you're right. They have this perception that it is easier. When we say, Alexa, turn off the light, I mean, Alexa isn't actually turning off the light. But the consumer thinks it is.
We have a couple minutes left. We may have time for one or two questions if there are anybody out there who may want to ask these gentlemen a question here on stage. John is here with a microphone. He can get over you real quickly.
So if you're right, Tim, that it's really about catching up, then we've got to build out assortments, fully merchandised assortments, and come up with the compelling ways to let the home buyer know that stuff is available from us and it's going to be delivered in a quality way. How do we go fast?
So my theory of marketing is always the same, which is do not try to change human behavior. It's a fool's pursuit and it costs a lot of money. So figure out where customers already are and meet them where they already are. Customers are online. First of all, you need to merchandise all of your options, all of your value proposition, your brand online so that they can fully explore your brand and everything that you have to offer them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on any device that they want to. That's just the way of today's world. Then create an amazing immersive experience that allows them to confirm with expert help, a concierge service, right? To really say, I was right. I really did pick the best stuff, didn't I? Yes, you certainly did. Right? That's what they want. They want an immersive experience where they're getting professional help to make sure that they really did dot all the I's and cross all the T's, they didn't make any mistakes. They want a little bit of confirmation in an amazing environment to show them what the future is really going to look like. This isn't that hard. We have VR, we have AR, we have online options management systems. We have amazing people that can build experiences, whether it be for entire homes or for just the technology aspect of homes. We just have to go do it. The customers are already there. Meet them where they are.
That's and so that's the delivery mechanism, Tim. But what about how do we decide what those products are? How do builders and integrators and trade partners sit down and have that strategic session where you're saying, this is the assortment, this is the way we're going to structure the offers, this is why how does that happen? Why hasn't it happened in a comprehensive way in 30 years of selling this stuff already?
It's an amazing experience when it does, and we've had some of those experiences, and they are new, and they unfold something like this. Recently, we were working with Joe and his integrators with the builder. The builder had been around for some time in the better market of Southern California and said to us, this is all very nice. I went through the tech cycle in the 80s, and we wired up all of our homes. You know where I'm going? Yeah. Got a big return on that one. Then there was the new wave in the 90s. We did another version of it. We can't tell you if we ever got more sales, more margin, or if we were just checking off a box. Here we are again, and he turns to us and turned to me and said, prove to me this is going to help sell our homes or sell our homes for a better margin, or that buyers even care really how they're done. So all of a sudden we had to stop acting like integrators, and Elon had to stop acting like someone who could provide equipment, and we had to stop acting like a home center. We actually went out and surveyed the competition and saw what they were offering, checked out the demographics of all of those people in those competitive markets, came back and met with the builder and did a PowerPoint showing what everybody else had, what the expectation was from the salespeople, and together the integrator, the builder, their purchasing agent, and Joe and myself, we put together a program that evolved into something the buyers would want and the builder could afford.
You know what's really interesting about that is we do tons of market survey. Obviously, we've got 2 million people a month shopping for homes, so we find out what are they looking for, what do they want. And what we see is we see a moving window. 2 years ago, if you had offered a comprehensive package of automated video doorbell, lighting, locks, thermostat, let's say a couple things like that, it would have been a differentiator. Yeah. You would have said, oh my gosh, we can sell faster for higher prices, we're going to differentiate in the market. That window has moved. This year in 2018, the majority of large production builders will all have a package that will do lights, locks, security, surveillance, right? The kind of 4 horsemen, right? Yeah. So consumers will expect that. You won't get bonus points for it. So to answer your builder's question, oh, you won't sell it at higher prices, you won't sell at higher velocity, you won't get more margin. It's just like having a dishwasher.
Right.
Try selling a house without a dishwasher, right? That's part of home automation too, right? Our homes, no dishwashers or refrigerators, right? They don't sell so well. So it's just going to become a normal thing. The question is, as that window moves, if you just want to play like everybody else, you're going to need to be in that box.
Right.
So who wants to play a little
outside of the box?
Outside the box. Who wants to still make it a differentiator where you're going to have to move fast because it's not locks, and it's not doorbells, it's not video surveillance, it's not lights, and it's not thermostat. Those are all part of the standard package now.
I have
a question. And kind of I want to address, sorry to interrupt you, but to go back to your question of like what is the missing gap, I think it's the timeline. You know, sitting next to a builder, and I'm an integrator, and there's still a gap there, and I think it has to do with the timeline. You want to sell the house, check up on them, and say, oh good, we built a good house. For an integrator, it's open-ended. It doesn't end. It's a continual process of maintenance and making sure it works. The technology needs a caretaker. Everyone, I think, who's an integrator will agree with that. Like, no matter how well you execute, it needs to be maintained. And I think that's the difference and the gap between integrators and builders is you want to close it, move on to the next house. We do too, but we're more service oriented. Mm-hmm. And quickly to address what, I'm sorry, the gentleman. Marshall. A lot of, to also accompany what I'm saying is you don't even know if you've made those right choices, right? So you mentioned something about the 80s, the 90s. Well, I'm going into homes that have Cat 6 from 20 years ago. The homeowner won. They don't know that yet, right? They don't know that oh wow, I won. That investment I made 20 years ago just saved me thousands of dollars. They don't know that, but it is true. And so identifying those value factors is also another challenge.
You're absolutely right, and what you're pointing out are 2 gaps. One, there was not a coordination at the right point in the process so that builder and eventually the home buyer would have an agreement, a consensus on what would have value to them, both the value to the consumer and value, therefore, to the builder who's offering it to differentiate himself from their competition. Secondly, the huge opportunity, and again, it's something that we found in the first seminar of the best companies, is the service that comes later. If you see yourself and if the builder sees you as an outsourced entity that is incidental, once the buyer moves in, call this guy and he'll come back and fix whatever, the builder has made a mistake. What the builder wants is to have you under his umbrella, not in ownership, but in identity, so that the builder is saying, when we are done with you, we're not done with the relationship. When you have these concerns, we have a specific dedicated person. He will come out to you, by the way, when you move into your home, and make sure that you understand how everything works, and if you have questions, we're there for you. That after that, if you have any questions, here's the direct number to call them, and we want to make sure as a builder that if you have any issues, you certainly call us as well. So that way, everyone's working together as one entity. You're not a bunch of outsourced people that the builder discards you to.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to end our discussion there because everybody does have meetings to get to. So Ken, Marshall, Tim, thank you so much for joining us here and speaking today.